Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two reviews, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today's Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not, but the fun is all in the trying.
Let's do it. Let's get her done. How's your week
How we
been?
doing, sir? Man, my week has been busy as a one-legged man in a bucking contest, sir. It's all good. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving it. I love keeping busy. I had no shortage of both paid and work for the community. Having said all that, my phone is ringing off the hook. My phone, you can probably hear my phone buzzing right now, sitting here on the desk next to the microphone.
Yeah, I get you. I feel like the man getting his butt kicked. So I'm with you. I think I've been home. I think I've been home 4 days in the past month. It seems like.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. It's like once again, it's all good. For me, the worst part about all of it is the meetings. The people want to actually meet and talk with you and hang out and do these big group meetings, and you're like, half the time, the stuff in these meetings has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm going to wind up doing. Why am I here?
You should wear a shirt that says, "This should have been an email."
Yeah, and it's harder when those meetings are in person because it's a little harder to multitask.
Yeah.
When you're on Zoom, all you have to do is just make sure that the camera's right in front, and whatever you're really working on is like right here on the computer in front of you. And the Zoom thing may be off over here while they're talking. You just listen in for Craig. Oh yeah, okay. I guess I'm supposed to pay attention. But you look like you're paying attention.
Who wants in-person meetings these days? This is the era of Teams meetings. Come on, didn't we learn anything from COVID?
Yeah, well, one of the benefits of the in-person, we always start off this program. We always do it with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
That's right. Let's say to our friends hello at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get AR barrels of any caliber, any length, pistol length, rifle length, whatever you desire. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together. Place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Do us a favor. Do them a favor. Do yourselves a favor. Take a moment and visit their websites. It's real simple. We make it real simple for you. All you got to do is follow the links in the description of this program. Go there. Check them out. Spend some money with them. And make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also want to encourage you, if you're watching this program, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you're watching us live, which means we're taking your comments. Would love to hear what you have to say. Tell us where you're watching the program from. Tell us what you think about the program. Tell us what you think about the topic. Heck, it's even cool if you disagree with us. That actually makes it more interesting because that gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow. Is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
And we do so, by the way, not because we want to be mean, but because it's entertaining and fun.
And that's the whole purpose right there.
We have fun and we are entertained.
That's the way it works.
That's kind of the reason we do this program, is so that we can have fun and that we can be entertained.
Exactly right.
All right, let's get into some of the stories. And this first story here, well, let's just say that the election of President Donald Trump is continuing to win. In this case, it's It's designed around the point that as Dr. Martin Luther King said, judging people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, right? The whole point of the Voting Rights Act was to make sure that people were not discriminated against based on the color of their skin. Well, what you have in many states is them drawing districts specifically based on the color of individuals' skin, not color of voters' skins, not necessarily the individuals. Well, the Supreme Court has shot down that reasoning, and well, let's just say big things are being discussed there in Washington D.C. about it.
This, at first blush here, is a win for the plaintiffs who were not black plaintiffs. They were non-minority voters who challenged this decision. These two districts that were minority majority, essentially, Louisiana had drawn up districts, and then they were told in a legal battle that they had not represented black and minority voters sufficiently. They went back and drew a second district, so they had two of these minority majority districts. Well, then non-black voters sued and said this is now violating our rights on the basis of race. So it looks like this is a 6-3 decision. There is one concurrence here, but it looks like the dissent sticks together with Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. But here's what the majority says. They say in some, because the Voting Rights Act did not require Louisiana to create an additional majority minority district, no compelling interest justified the state's use of race in creating SB 8. That was those two new districts. That map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, and its use would violate the plaintiff's constitutional rights. Now, this opinion is almost 100 pages long, so we're going through to see if it says something more broadly about the Voting Rights Act. That had been the fear on the left, that somehow this decision, if it was favorable for those challenging these maps, that it would somehow do a big chunk out of the Voting Rights Act. Haven't gotten to language that suggests that yet. It sounds like this decision is primarily about what happened in Louisiana. So we'll keep digging through this. But for right now, it's a win for those who were challenging these two minority majority districts. Now, as we read through this and figure out the broader implications, there were 20 plus districts across the country that would have potentially lined up with this decision. They could be open to challenges that they were drawn on the basis of race, or that it was the primary factor that was used in drawing those districts. Most of those are throughout the South. So we'll look to see if there's enough sweeping language in this particular decision that may have a domino effect on some 20 other districts. Could be huge for the midterms. We'll continue to read through.
So one of the things they're pointing out here is basically it's restricting the use of race. It's not eliminating the use of race, but it's restricting the use of race when it comes to drawing lines. And let's read a little bit of the story from NBC News. It says here, the Supreme Court on Wednesday further weakened the Voting Rights Act, ruling that a congressional map in Louisiana was a racial gerrymander, even though it was drawn to comply with landmark law aimed at protecting minority voters. The justices split 6-3 with the court's conservatives in the majority, told states that they can almost never consider race when drawing maps to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which was enacted to protect minority voters who long faced discrimination in elections. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito, writing for the majority, said that while there may be extreme situations where the use of race can be justified to draw a map, it is not in the Louisiana case, as the result of the new map was unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, he added. Now, the thing is, Mike, and I think the instances where they're talking about, and what's fun, this is what they're talking about is, it's funny because this is what Democrats tend to do. Democrats will take a black community, right? And what they'll do is that they will literally divide up that community. They'll cut that community up because they'll use it to fortify Democratic districts, since overwhelming majority of African Americans, overwhelming majority of black people vote for Democrats. They'll divide up a black community, and then they'll shift them, and then they'll basically use them to fortify their other districts. California is really, really big at doing that. Where I think when they're talking about in extreme cases is when you can clearly see that you have a community interest that also happens to be predominantly black district that's been divided up simply to shore up those other districts, and thus affecting the ability of someone of those folks to have adequate representation. That's when they're going to have the opportunity to utilize race to redraw a district.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And be clear from the outset. I know we've talked about this before. Gerrymandering itself is race based. It's a racist tactic to try and get more districts to certain demographics. And it's been decided over and over again that these districts should be divided by political boundaries, city, county, or state, or by geographical boundaries, but oceans, lakes, rivers, that kind of stuff. To take a district like you have in Louisiana, and we had this in Florida for a while, and I've shown you that map before, where you've got a predominantly African American district, yet it runs hundreds of miles, and at many points only as wide as a road, so they can connect it contiguously from one end to the other, is purely race based. And to say that, listen, the only way you could be represented is by someone of your own race is a racist statement. I'm sorry. If you don't believe that you're voting for somebody who's the best in your party, then that's another race decision.
Well, no, exactly. And here's the other thing. One of the reasons why they want a second black district is because they know, once again, because so far right now, data shows majority of African Americans or black folks are going to vote for a Democrat. They're looking at it as creating another Democratic district.
Well, I'm sure they are. That's the reason they're trying to do it, to get more seats in the House, so they can have more sway with the Democrat Party. This is a political based gerrymandering of the districts, instead of going by the geopolitical boundaries or the geographic boundaries. You're telling black people that they're dumb by doing this. Listen, the only way you can make a difference is if all blacks vote together.
Exactly, and the only people who will vote for black people are black people. When so far the majority of people who are in the Congressional Democratic Black Caucus are not elected in majority black districts. And in fact, every single black Republican that's in Congress, and there's more than a few of them now in Congress, they're all elected in majority white districts. Well, I'll say all the Republicans are in majority white. All the black Republicans are elected in majority white districts. So you can't say that black folks can't get elected in white districts. It's not about race. It's about your politics. And that's really what they're looking for. That's really what they're aiming for, is they want people with the right politics.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah, it's just more lying, cheating, and stealing by the Democrats is what it is.
Exactly. All right. Let's see here. Next up, let's put this one in. All right, next up. Okay, I'm picking out the wrong thing here. Here we go. Put that there. Okay. All right, so next up, okay, why is that one? Okay, I see. Okay. Former FBI Director James Comey indicted again. Okay, I made a mistake because I discussed that story yesterday. But Mike, let's talk. What are your thoughts on James Comey being indicted again?
Hopefully, the first of many charges to come for him in his like. I mean, how many times do we have to see the evidence to know that this man's guilty of corruption? Let's hope they stick. It depends on, again, who the judge is appointed to a case, rather than ruling by law. You get a Democrat judge there; they're going to rule by try and legislate from the bench rather than find the truth. So good, and if they throw it out again, we'll do it again.
Well, now the last time they threw it out is because the person who brought forth the charges was not what's the word I'm looking for? The person who brought forth the charges. Well, he wasn't supposed to be appointed U.S. attorney. They made some mistake. They did like a recess appointment or emergency appointment, and dude was not necessarily qualified to do that. He wasn't supposed to be the dude who does that.
Right.
In any case, one of the things that in this particular case they're going after specifically that old 8647.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, I'm hoping they have more than just the posting of that image, because if that's all they have, this case is not going to last very long in court.
Yeah, that alone's pretty weak, but I think this will open up everything else. I think once they start doing discovery and finding out all of the other corrupt things that he was involved in, that you may see additional charges.
That is exactly what I'm hoping. Now, the story that I really wanted to get up, and I couldn't understand, I made a mistake when I was setting up everything, but has to do with the record military recruitment, the record recruitment that they're now seeing in the U.S. military. Pete Hegseth, when he was testifying before the House, well, let's just say he was doing some bragging.
I really appreciate your opening statement. At the next fiscal year, that's why this budget grows our force by almost 50,000, ultimately. Additional troops into the force that we believe we can recruit. That's the best vote of confidence I can imagine.
So yeah, so this being reported, once again, military recruitment surge. Hegseth says recruits are being turned away. Military recruiting record, quote, I think something that's obvious that the media doesn't want to cover, and I think that's the biggest thing, and doesn't want to talk about, is this historic, record-breaking surge in recruitment. And here, they point out some of the goals here, right? It says here, the Air Force said earlier this month on social media that it reached its 2026 goal of recruiting 32,000 5 months ahead of schedule. The Department of War said last year its recruitment goals were exceeded by each branch in 2025. The Army had a goal of 61,000 recruits and attained 62,050, totaling 101% of its goal. Navy, 108.6% of its goal. Air Force, 100.22% of its goal. 100 for Space Force, 102.89. The Marine Corps, 100% of its goal. Now, Mike, you're in the military. You understand why folks sign up. Why do you think they're hitting their goals when previously, man, they couldn't get people. They were trying to pay people to sign up and couldn't get them.
Well, Craig, because the job sucked before, right? It's the same reason you try and find a civilian job. You don't go to a company that's losing money and losing people. You try to find a company that's going to be productive and give you the job that you want and give you the salary that you want. It's the same with the military. Add on top of that patriotism, right? The pride in the company, the pride in the organization. That's what's going on. And listen, don't be confused. This is not the plussing of the military. You get these normal numbers. This is makes up for attrition. This makes up for retirements. They are adding some under the defense budget, but this is not. We're not building up for a war or anything like that. This is just to maintain and get that edge back that we lost under the previous administration.
Well, I think you're 100% right, and I think that people want to join something that is where they know it's going to help them, where they know it's going to make them better, and where they know that they're going to be put to good use, and they know that what they're doing is going to be honoring America, and that shows you what they feel about what Donald Trump brings to the military and what a Donald Trump-led military is going to look like, what it's going to do, and how it's going to help and benefit Americans, as opposed to a Joe Biden or a Barack Obama-led military, which it was, quite frankly, was an embarrassment to the United States of America. Trump is investing in the military. Hegseth is investing in the military. Now, I got people who are like, they so hate Hegseth. But I'm like, I'm sorry, we have had more military successes under him than the last 3 secretaries of defense put together.
He's a secretary of defense that's allowed to be a secretary of defense. Listen, now he's not out there setting, war policy or deciding tactics. That's left to, he gives to the generals. He gets the guidance from the president and hands it on down. He's to lead an agency and make them successful.
Yeah, you got a bunch of people who really want him to be setting policy, who want him to be setting international relations policy, right? That's not his job. Foreign relations is not his job. His job is to make sure that we have a military that is prepared to go and kill people and break things.
That's it. And he's making sure they're ready to do that and equipped to do so.
And a big part of that is selecting the right people. They're mad because he's getting rid of a bunch of generals, and a bunch of those generals, I'm be honest with you, and I get it. Some of them happen to be women. Some of them happen to be men and women some happen to be people of color. black, white, black and Latino and whatever else. But here's the deal. It ain't about the color of your skin. It's about the content of your character. And if you are not prepared to make our military to be on a war footing, to be war ready, then you have no place in this military. Now, if you're more interested in using it as a social experiment and making sure that people feel, nice and they feel welcomed and that it's a social, social justice takes priority, then go somewhere else. Go join the British Army. But that's not what the military's for.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, again, just using the civilian analogy. I mean, listen, I don't care if you're, the private or the general. If you don't agree with the, the policy and the administration that sets the policy that you work for, then it's time to go get another job.
Exactly. If you're working for a company and you don't fit the directions that the CEO and the board want to go, you get fired.
That's it.
It's really that simple. And yes, there is a significant difference between the direction that this president, this Secretary of State, this Secretary of War, if calling him Secretary of War doesn't direct you as to the change in attitude. Well, if you're not smart enough to pick up on that, then maybe the issue isn't that you're too woke; it's that you're too stupid to be in the military, to be leading the military.
There you go.
Not saying, just saying. All right, I think we're getting here back on track here. New research shows that assault weapons are rarely used in crimes. Now, let's just be honest. We've always known this, right? This is not new research. I wish I could tell you that this was new research, but to be quite honest with you, there's nothing new about this information. We've always kind of known this, but when you get someone like the Pew Research Center to go and do the study and do the research and put the information out there, makes you feel a little bit more like some people like, okay, well, maybe I'm willing to believe you now. This being reported by Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms. It says here, Pew Research has released some interesting and new correlated data on gun-involved crimes in the United States in 2024. And their stats confirm what Second Amendment advocates and those opposed to bans on so-called assault weapons have been saying for decades. They are rarely used in crimes of any kind in the United States. According to Pew, rifles of all kinds, including so-called assault weapons, are involved in just 3% of gun-related homicides in 2024. Handguns are involved in 53%, with undetermined firearms involved in 42% of homicides. The Supreme Court rejected the idea that handguns could be banned just because they are the most popular choice of weapons for criminals, but gun control advocates are arguing that a category of commonly owned firearms that is much less popular among violent criminals can be outlawed. Of course, it's not garden variety criminals who the gun control lobby invoke in their arguments about banning assault weapons. They regularly proclaim that AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles are the weapon of choice of mass shooters. A 2023 report by the Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center, however, found that 74% of active shooters between 2016 and 2020 used handguns, while 32% used long guns. Some used both, which is why the numbers don't add up to 100%. Or even among the most depraved criminals, handguns are far more common than assault weapons to be used. Now, Mike, once again, this is nothing new. We have always known this. I mean, Dr. John Lott has been saying this for decades. For decades, he's been pointing this out. He's got the data to support it. And so this information from Pew, although they generally have more credibility among the left, is really nothing new.
No, nothing new here at all. Nothing new at all, Craig. Like you said, from every organization, legitimate organizations that's looked at the numbers rather than looked at the politics, has said that AR-15 or weapons of war or assault-style weapons, whatever we're calling them this week, they are not the primary firearm used in these shootings.
Well, and let's be honest, what we're talking about when we talk about assault weapons are semi-automatic center fire rifles with detachable magazines and a bunch of scary features, or in the less technical term, scary black rifles.
Yeah. Yeah. Things like a bayonet lug, Greg, because you know of the mass bayonettings we've had here in the country.
Well, now let's be honest, because you do have some with the chainsaw attachment. Those are scary.
I have a big piece of property. Sometimes I need a chainsaw.
I still remember that year. One year it shot. They actually made one, and they actually had a chainsaw attachment on it. I thought it was hilarious.
I have one.
Do you have one?
I have
Of course you would. You're
Yeah.
in Florida. Of course you would have one.
You need a chainsaw attachment. Come on, I live in the predator world. You have gators climbing fences and stuff. I need everything tool I
You
can
do
get.
have gator. That is not an exaggeration. You do have gators climbing fences.
Yeah.
I've seen the video. I've seen the physical. I've seen the video evidence of them climbing fences. It's a thing. It really
Yeah.
is a thing there in Florida. Hey, real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to the folks over at American Crossfire. They are tuning back in. It looks like you guys are you guys back? Is your YouTube channel back up and running? Because I know that you were having some problems with that and you were watching us on Rumble, but we're happy to see y'all back on YouTube as well. But keep that Rumble channel, bro, just so you know. Broadcast to both because YouTube can, have issues. They got attitude.
Yeah, they do.
All right, moving right along. So Sotomayor, in the debate and the discussion about whether or not Haitians should be allowed to have this temporary amnesty that they have been granted, the Supreme Court is basically looking at whether or not Donald Trump can remove that temporary amnesty. And Justice Sotomayor, who is, well, until the arrival of Ketanji Brown Jackson, was the dimmest bulb on the light that is the Supreme Court, but
Yeah.
she has been out undershined. Let's call it. She has been undershined by her colleague, Miss Jackson Brown. So this being reported by by Breitbart, Justice Sonia Sotomayor suggests DHS cannot end temporary amnesty for Haitians because Trump called Haiti a shithole country. It says, so Justice Sonia Mayor suggested during oral arguments on Wednesday that the Department of Homeland Security may have discriminated against Haitian migrants by ending temporary protection status for hundreds of thousands of Haitians in the United States because President Trump called Haiti a shithole country. Sotomayor's suggestion came during oral arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court in cases Mullen versus Doe and Trump versus Miat, where left-wing groups have sued the Trump administration after DHS announced last year that the TPS would end for hundreds of thousands of Haitian migrants and thousands of Syrian migrants. While debating Solicitor General John Sewer, representing the Trump administration in the case, Sotomayor brought up the president's former comments in which he called Haiti a shithole country. Now we have a president saying at one point that Haiti is a filthy, dirty, disgusting shithole country, and that he complained that the United States takes people from such countries instead of people from Norway, Sweden, or Denmark, where he declared illegal migrants, which he associated with TPS as poisoning the blood of America. Sotomayor said, quote, I don't see how one statement is not a prime example of Arlington example at work and showing that a discriminatory purpose may have played a part in the decision, she continued. Now, Mike, this is so wrong on multiple different levels because number one, so what you're saying is every single time an executive makes a statement, that you assume that statement is the driving force behind the decisions made by a department head. Even if those decisions that are made, there's specific policy reasons that are given why they are not allowed that temporary status or why they've made that decision. I just think she's just making an assumption that, I don't know, why do people think that everybody who either works in the Trump administration or just has an R after their name kowtows and does everything Donald Trump tells them to do?
Because they hate Donald Trump, and that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that he's a tyrant, and he's a Nazi. Remember, Craig? Listen, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Haiti or not, but a good way to describe it is a filthy, disgusting country that's a shithole. That's about what it is. You know, a lot of that you give credit to the Clintons, you know, because they took all the money from there as well that was supposed to be going there. You know, Craig, I'm curious. You know, Donald Trump said this 8 years ago. He called it a shithole country. He also called Baltimore a shithole city. Does that mean we're suspending any federal aid or tax payments or anything to Baltimore?
So now, Mike, but here's the thing, though. Okay, so I guess now we're going to get into linguistics, because if he calls it a filthy, dirty, if it's filthy and dirty, okay, is it filthy and dirty compared to other shitholes? Or I mean, it could be a pretty nice shithole, right? Or is it just filthy, dirty, and happens to be a shithole?
You mean like a polished turd? Got it. Okay.
It could be a polished turd.
No, listen, you know, and you know, I get if we have a country that, you know, has got an oppressive regime and people are trying to get out of there because their freedoms have been taken away from them. That's not what's going on in Haiti. You know, Haiti's that's happening in Haiti. You know, what's happening in Haiti is because they're poor, and they have no economy. You know, that doesn't mean that people can't get a job and make a life for themselves. Is it going to be more difficult? Sure, it is. Apply for citizenship or apply to come to the United States. You know, we want people to come to this country that are going to benefit this country and not show up and just end up on welfare.
Well, and that's a big part of the problem is you have people who are coming to the United States. And unfortunately, yes, for over 100 years, we had a policy where we just let anybody come in. But that was before we developed the social welfare system. That was that basically where if you came here from another country, you could still get on it, and you became dependent on American largesse. And I think, you know, a lot of the numbers that have recently come out regarding the Somalian community and their overwhelming dependence, even still to this day, on social welfare programs, no matter how long they've been here in the country, demonstrates that is a bad idea. You know, any country has a right to determine who comes in. And we ought to be looking at, I'm not saying that we shouldn't provide sanctuary for those who need sanctuary, but I'm saying we get to decide who we provide sanctuary for. You, just because you don't like where you live and you're not willing to put up the time, energy, or effort to change it, doesn't mean that we're responsible for taking you in.
There you go. Exactly right.
Not my job.
Nope.
Nope. I would rather give you the guidance and the direction, and sometimes even maybe some of the resources to change the country where you're from. Make your place better. Right. And I know it's possible because the Dominican Republic is on the same frigging island. And the Dominican Republic is a pretty nice place. It ain't America, but it's a lot better than Haiti.
Listen, get on. I'll give you a little fun exercise. Get on Google Earth. Get you an image of Dominica there, of Hispaniola, the island where Dominican Republic and Haiti are. And there's the border is north to south, right through the middle of the island. And take a look at the west side where Haiti is and the east side where Dominican Republic is. And Craig, you can see right along the borderline, green and prosperous to the east side of the island where the Dominican Republic is, and brown and shit on the left side where Haiti is.
Brown and shit. That's the term, shithole country. It ain't an accident, folks. He's not. Donald Trump is not a wordsmith, but he ain't wrong.
Hey, guy's from the boroughs. He says shithole when he means shithole.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, this first one here. What I like about this first video is that they do a very, very good job of exposing kind of the hypocrisy of the left when it comes to the concept of borders.
We need y'all to like get out of here with your sign.
What do you mean? Oh, you have borders on this campus.
No, we have this space reserved as an official event.
Yeah, so you have borders. Where's your borders at?
This whole green area right here.
Oh, so you want to control who comes in and out. Like an ICE agent or a border patrol agent. You wouldn't dare act like a fascist, would you? I would really encourage you on a rally on a campus. This is an event for sanctuary campuses. You probably shouldn't act like a fascist border patrol agent. You should take down your borders and let whoever wants on the space, okay? Why is your lip quivering? Because you've been called out on how you're acting exactly like how you don't, what you're advocating against. You're acting just like them. So if you believe in illegal aliens allowing to have sanctuary on this campus, put your money where your mouth is, leave me alone, and let me have sanctuary on this campus, okay?
Ooh.
She should have ended that with, "In your face, Dick Tracy."
In your face. There you go. Yeah. That would have been that would have been good. Okay. Here's another one. And this was a comment that that Ilhan Omar made a while ago, but it has just resurfaced, and it's interesting. I can't believe that none of us caught this before, but it just goes to show how superior the left think they are to us, and yet at the same time, they're not.
These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people. The dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
So tell me about your experiences during World War XI, Mike.
So, 11 wasn't so bad. 9 and 10 were bitches, though. There's a local radio station here, Craig, that just started a game show this week, and it said "Guess That War," and they would go on and say, "What was the war where North Korea and South Korea fought against each other?" And they would have her voice going, "World War XI." No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Guess the war. Guess which war it was in where Vietnam had their conflict. World War XI. No, that would be the Vietnam War. The other one I saw was a Facebook post that said, "Mark safe from World Wars 3 through 11."
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right. This next one here, and I have to admit, it's making fun of Donald Trump, but he doesn't care. He's worth making fun of because it's hilarious. Because I'm like this, like people are like they get frustrated because they're like, well, why isn't Donald Trump more Christ-like? I mean, if he's a believer, why isn't he more Christ-like? And this guy posits, what would it be like if Christ were more Trump-like?
Trump's an interesting guy, man, because some people just vote for him because they like him. Other people, worship that guy, They worship him like he's a god. And I don't think Trump is Christ-like, but I think it'd be really funny if Christ was Trump-like. I could feed a lot of people with this fish. It's a big fish. It's a beautiful fish. It's a bronzino. There's the fish I've brought. It's a very delicate fish. They hung me on the cross, these nasty people. Would you believe it? They hung me on the cross. I'm not going to say it was the Jews, but they were there. They were definitely there, those Jews. They were watching me and taunting me. They hung me on the cross, and the fake news didn't tell you it was a capital T. I would never be hung on a lowercase t. That's extremely disrespectful. We wouldn't be watching a reality show if he lost that election, keeping up with the Trumps. We'd be watching him yell at his wife and kid in his house. Just, Melania!
I thought that was hilarious. You can't tell me that did not sound like that would be Donald Trump. That would be.
That would be him. That would be him.
All right, this last one, I already shared this one with you, Mike. You probably saw this. It's at Mike. So Mike is a big baseball fan, and I could totally see, first of all, this kid does a very, very good job. I mean, this dad does a very good job of kind of coaching his kid on the proper attitude to have towards when it comes to baseball, when it comes to challenges during the game, and I think this kid sent a very, very strong message at the end of this video.
Got him with the slow curve. All right, good inning, kid. You did this yesterday too, and I loved it. Struck out? Who cares? Who cares? What'd you do? You put your bat down nice, you got your glove, you got your stuff on, and now you're going to play defense, right? What really matters?
Effort.
And
attitude.
effort and attitude. So if you strike out and you're trying really hard, get back to the dugout, put your stuff away, and have a good attitude when you go play defense, right? That's a good job, bud. You're doing great.
All right, Mike. For those who were just listening to the program, you want to explain what just happened?
Oh, he got beamed.
He got beamed.
He got beamed. He got beamed.
That little kid was throwing heat.
Listen, the quickest way to get beamed is run that gator. Run that gator. You're going to get beamed. Yep.
I just thought, now, once again, I am not a baseball fan, but I appreciate exactly what just happened.
That's it. Yep. The credit to that goes to Pedro Martinez. There we go.
All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. They got AR barrels, rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any like you desire. They also have all kinds of shotgun, rifle, pistol barrels for whatever you're happy to be doing. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. You can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
Once again, folks, please take a moment and visit our sponsors. You can do so by following the links in the description to this program. Very much appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow. That will be Thursday, Throat Punch Thursday. We're going to have a lot of fun. Always have fun on Throat Punch Thursday. So then y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see y'all mañana.